What's up? I'm Big Bob. So, usually we start out my podcast with a shout out to Brenda for being our executive producer and the founder of Being the Better You.
I love it.
Here's the start of our show. Chris Cumby.
Yes, sir.
Chris, your resume is over the top impressive.
I thank you.
I am going to try to I'm going to try to pull back the curtain
Sure.
to see what actually happens in your world that nobody knows about.
That sounds good to me.
All right. So let's start out with your background. Where did you go to school?
Sure. I grew up in Toronto, Canada, Ontario, that is. And I went to school at York University, and I was a mat man for a while. I didn't stay too long. Yeah, I was a wrestler. Yeah, I was a wrestler.
Okay.
So my early ages, I've always been an entrepreneur as far back as I can remember. I always had an aspiration to help people in business, and I became a pretty good sales guy very young. I finished up school and went right into Pepsi Cola, and Pepsi really helped me. I guess probably the best word is to really understand how business works. They had a great program. It's called the Executive Fast Track. I spent 7 years there, and it was an awesome opportunity.
Wasn't that fast for you, huh?
It wasn't as fast as I wanted. I felt like I got
7 years is a long fast track.
Yeah, it's a long fast track for sure. And really what that meant was, they were able to bring you through, the various facets of their marketing and frontline sales, business development, and, really round you so that you could become some management material as you, grew through the industry or in through the company and the industry for that matter. And, it was during the days of the Coke and Pepsi wars in Toronto. And I was actually part of the very first Aquafina team to launch water. And I remember them telling me, Big Bob, that how are you going to sell water in a bottle? That's just not going to happen. And, fast forward, many years later, and, we drink bottled water every day and, different varieties and all kinds of different stuff.
Chris,
So
what amazes me is you take plain water and you sell it for X, and then you take the plain water, add the Pepsi flavor or the Coke flavor, shake it up, add some of this, and sell it for a lot less than X.
that's right.
Water's more expensive than soda, but when you go to a restaurant, they give you free water. They don't give you free soda.
Right.
I've never been able to figure that out.
I can't figure it out, my friend, either. And it's funny thing about water, Big Bob, because I feel like water is a great representation sometimes of value, because you can take a bottle of water, let's just take any kind, Aquafina, and, depending on where you find that bottle of water, it can vary in price. So if that bottle of water is in an environment that, has, abundance and maybe a little bit more affluence, that bottle of water is going to be worth $10. But that same bottle of water put in a different environment, and let's call it a 7-Eleven, could be 99 cents. So I guess, that the point I'm trying to make is, I think people need to look at themselves a little bit like a bottle of water, because I think our value, can be much different if our environment is, changed. And, that's kind of a little story I wanted to add to water.
I love the transparency. So you get out of college, you work for Pepsi.
Yes, sir.
You're very successful. You moved on. What are you doing now?
That's a great question. So I do a few things. First of all, First of all, I'm a dad. I've been a dad for a long time. And I also am a consultant. I help people on the business development and sales.
Congratulations. Single most important job any man has.
Yes. My kids.
Right.
Yeah. And so I do a lot of that. I'm a dad. I'll be at soccer a little bit later soon. And I spend a lot of time with my kids. But you said, I'm on the way or I'm always on the go and, I'm walking and doing these things. Yeah, because I'm able to, work in the nooks and crannies of life, but I'm also, really look for providing value to a lot of people. In the business development and sales side, I spent a, good part of my career, 30 years, um, being a business development expert, if you want to call it, and a sales pro. And now I help people on the front lines of their business through different partnerships that I have. And I spend a lot of time coaching. So I love that part.
So the little bit of research I did on you is I listened to a 90-second video that Kevin Harrington did about your relationship with him.
Sure.
And maybe right now your claim to fame is that you're in his orbit and you're part of his entourage and you're part of his team and partnerships. Would
That's
that be a
correct.
fair statement?
That's a fair statement.
All right. So when you look at a business opportunity, when we watch the Shark Tank, it seems they're more interested in what is the current status of the business? What is the current sales? What is the current profits? And not so much about the potential. Um, and they discount on Shark Tank how much actual work has to be done to take them from where they are to where the potential might take them to. And my guess is that you are in that gap between potential where they are and the potential of where they need to be. That you are the one who facilitates that growth and acceleration through your expertise and experience. Is that a fair
Absolutely.
statement?
That is a very fair statement. That's where I play the best. I've had a few startups myself.
Chris,
Yeah.
is that a fair statement?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, how do you evaluate what potentials have the biggest growth spurts and what it's going to take to monetize somebody else's business that isn't yours because you don't have the juice, the startup juice, and the passion of creating the business? Your juice comes from accelerating everything to its potential.
Sure.
So, how do you decide what business opportunities to follow up on?
I think number one, it comes down to the people. I follow the passion of the person. That's the biggest thing. And so, as long as the person believes in what they're trying to accomplish and they have a heart and the grit to go do it, then, I activate very well in that arena because I built a couple of companies myself. I've exited a couple of companies, and that's what I've been doing for many years in the last little while to, help them accelerate, whether it's a startup, whether it's a company that's stalled. I look at the people and I look at the process, and I'm very good at sales process, and I'm probably like I mentioned earlier, an expert in the business development because I'm able to help the entrepreneur actually stand back a little bit from the picture. Because when you're building a company, your nose is up against the
Wow.
picture. Yeah. And I always like to help people stand back because there's other opportunities that might be missed or they're not seeing. And, I help them explore what that may look like. So it's always comes down to the people and the process.
If you always have your nose to the grindstone, all you're going to see is the grindstone,
Exactly.
right? You have to have, I mean, the old adage, you can't see the trees for the forest. You have to have a perspective, self perspective, be able to take a step back from who you are to look at your businesses without the emotion tie in with the objectiveness. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? How do I accelerate and empower my strengths? And how do I hire and delegate someone else to pick up my weaknesses?
Absolutely. You know, I
Yeah.
always have
I'm
this
a great
thing. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
you.
I
Go
always
ahead.
start with the end in mind. You know, I'm a big believer that you need to understand a little bit of where your direction is going to take you. And with that, I work backwards. I'm a reverse engineer. So I always, like to know exactly, what it is I'm trying to accomplish. And it's okay to have 5-year plans, but I'm a big believer that once you have that, you've got to work backwards and, really find those short-term sprints. 90
Chris,
days is a great way to get things done.
I will share with you. I love quoting myself. So one of my favorite quotes is goals have nothing to do about numbers, but the activities that produce the numbers.
Mm,
You can't arbitrarily say, I want a 10% increase. That's not your business plan is I need a 10% increase. Your business plan is the activities that create the 10% increase.
absolutely.
And I think a lot of people get lost in let's have a 10% increase this year without any plan of how to get there. And, and it's not about a plan. It's never about a plan. It's never about a dream. It's never about where you are. It's all about the execution of how to get from where you are to where you want to go. Because you can have the world's best business plan, the world's greatest idea, but if you don't execute, you fail.
For sure.
And you can take a crappy idea and a crappy plan, execute to perfection, get lucky, and be hugely successful. And
I
that's what I think
absolutely
you
agree.
do. That's what I think you do. I think you're the magic sauce of taking a mediocre plan and a mediocre opportunity and stir in the secret sauce of execution. And that's how you make money.
Absolutely. The front lines are, a scary place for a lot of people, but that's where the magic is. And I'm a big believer in creating activities that are connected with that direction. And, that's really what I teach. And as long as you're doing the right activity, then, you're one deal away or one conversation away from something really massive changing in your life. And, a lot of people give up on that, Big Bob. A lot of people don't follow through. And, I'm a big believer that you got to keep going or you can quit. Both are going to be really hard.
Transversely, another Big Bob quote is we're all just one bad decision away from bankruptcy, heartbreak, and failure.
For sure.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be a bad decision. It could just be bad luck.
Truth.
But the thin line between success and failure could be just one bad decision.
Absolutely. And
Geez, we agree
recovery.
on everything.
Well, I mean, you're saying all the things I believe in and, experienced in my life. And, I'm not quite as old as you, Bob, but you look like a young fella anyway. But
84,
well, there you go. I love to
84.
learn. I love to learn from people that are older than me and younger than me. Somewhere in the
Hey,
middle,
Butthead,
I've been able,
Butthead,
yeah,
you're supposed to say you look great for 84. Come
you
on.
do. You didn't let me get there yet.
Right.
Hey,
Um,
Big Bob, you look great for 84.
yeah, well, I'm only 72. So, anyways, how many
That's
how many opportunities how many opportunities do you look at a year?
um I would say there's probably that pass through probably 100.
Out of the 100, how many do you give a third look at? You spend some
Probably,
time actually
yeah,
dialing down some of the numbers of the people.
yeah. Probably 20 to 25%. Probably accurate. Maybe
Say that
30%
again, please.
max.
How many?
20 to 30%.
All right. Out of the 25% you've done your due diligence, how many times do you meet? How many times do you actually meet with? How many times do you meet with the proprietor and get a read on him face to face?
Oh, there'll be several times. One of the requirements for me is to make sure that we break bread and we meet. You could tell a lot of people. You could tell a lot about people when
Chris.
you have a meal. Yes.
Yeah, no, we haven't lost him, but it's frozen.
Oh, can you hear me now? I shouldn't have any issues. Can you hear me?
How many do you negotiate with out of the? You got 100 look ats. How many?
Probably about 25% on an average.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
We're freezing up on each other periodically.
Okay.
How many? How many do you end up negotiating with?
Probably about 25%.
Boy, oh boy, we're having technical problems here.
Are we? I'm okay on my side.
All
I
right.
do
So
have.
out of the 20, out of the 20 to 30 people out of 100, you deep dive into, you've met with them. How many of those do you negotiate with?
Probably not too much lower because by that time, we're probably had several meetings. I had mentioned when we did freeze that one requirement is to break bread and, meet with people and have a meal. You can tell a lot
All
about,
right.
someone when you're having a minute meal with someone, and, it's really important. That just brings out the
I once
character and yeah.
I once went to an Italian restaurant with a guy that I was going to try to do business with, and I took the big loaf of bread and literally tore it in half and gave him half, and I took half, literally breaking bread together as a symbol of what we were trying to accomplish as business partners. Um, Out of the 20 or so, how many deals do you execute?
All of them.
So you'll go 20 new businesses a year?
Yep.
All right. Here comes the tough one.
Yes, sir.
You know what's coming next, right?
Maybe.
What's coming next?
How many are successful?
Ta-da! How many are profitable?
That's uh, that's a good question because profitability depends on how long it takes to get profitable.
Yeah.
So everybody's very different.
All right. So I'm going to guess that if you're better than 50-50, you're a superstar.
Right.
And that's handpicking the people and the opportunities. But you're not the managing partner, are you, in these business operations? Maybe one or two of them you're the managing partner, but most of them you're a hands-on consultant,
That's correct.
right? With a vested interest in the upside. Are you looking for dividends? Or are you looking to sell the company and cash out?
We have different varieties of deals. A lot of times, the end game is that we are cashing out, in the future, because that was the goal of the actual, owners in the first place. So we just tie ourselves, or at least myself, to whatever the goal is of the actual owner, because not all owners want to cash out either, at a specific
It's like
time.
real estate. You buy something to flip it, or do you
Yeah,
buy something to fix up and hold?
sure.
Right.
There might have
So
been a little bit of both.
yeah, sometimes you flip them, sometimes you fix them up and hold.
That's right.
Um, Pretty simple analogy, really.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a good one.
Thank you. Uh, are you- what's the most? Have you ever put seven figures into a deal?
Absolutely.
Have you ever put eight figures into a deal?
No, not myself.
All right. Um, have you ever been involved with a company that went public?
Yes, twice.
What a pain in the ass that was.
Woo! It's a big lot
Yeah.
of work.
I was approached a couple of times to take my business public,
Right.
made two or three phone calls, and said, "No effing way. The juice is not worth the squeeze."
I
Um,
agree.
have you ever franchised businesses?
I have not franchised, but I am around, some franchisors for sure.
I'll volunteer anytime you want to talk to a successful franchisor. I volunteer to be on your Rolodex.
I love it.
Um,
Thank you.
my pleasure. Um, is there a specific industry that you love to get involved in?
I love tech. I always have. Tech can scale really nicely, and if it's a good product or a service, then it probably creates some efficiencies for people in life, and that's what I find tech does. So I'm a big tech fan for sure.
I might not be able to help you. I just learned how to use the microwave last week. Um, how about retail?
Retail, did a lot of retail as well. I've been in the energy industry for a lot of my life, so I've did retail, wholesale, brokering, consulting, and so I have some experience on the retail side.
Food?
Food, particularly, I'm involved in a company right now that's likely going public this year. In a tech product that is involved in food, and it's called Tradish.com.
Wait. Tech and food in the same business?
Yes, sir.
Is this
Hmm.
to avoid the $20 an hour employees at a fast food restaurant?
It's not. It's to create efficiencies inside of their P&L. Most restaurateurs don't have a good P&L because they don't have the software or the know-how or the connection to create more efficiencies in their buying and
Uh-huh.
or efficiencies in their product delivery, which is not delivery to your door, but I mean product from the time you start cooking it to the time you put it on a plate. They don't know the numbers well enough and they're losing a lot of money. So we've helped them
So
with that.
what's that TV show where the guy goes in and fixes up a bar?
Oh, geez, it's on
Are you like
the
him a
Food
little
Network.
bit? Are you like him a
No,
little bit?
I am definitely not like him, and certainly maybe in the future we'll be more like him. But right now, the company's scaling based on um, providing a SaaS product as well as some other attributes that help the
What kind of
company.
sauce? What kind of sauce do
SaaS.
you use?
Do
Sauce?
I use sauce? I love hot
Sauce.
sauce.
No,
Yeah.
no. Are we talking sauce here?
No, we're talking SaaS. SaaS
Oh, like
product.
sassy.
Yes,
So you're a
like
sassy
no.
guy.
No, software as a service. You're so funny, Big Bob. I love
Thank
it.
you. Thank you. It's a lot easier being funny when you're ignorant. So, anyways, so you must have a huge team of people because if you're managing or consulting with 50 different businesses, it's maybe you can do it from 5,000 miles above and just spend 15 minutes a month on each project. But there's got to be a lot of people with their elbows and knees deep into this in each and every one of these opportunities.
Yeah, there's definitely some depth in each one of the opportunities and each partnership that I have, for sure. It doesn't, do well if you don't have the people and the resources and you're trying to scam it by. That's impossible. So yes, there's lots of depth, definitely depth. And there's a lot of
It,
people that have to be involved, whether it's technical, whether it's front lines, whether it's,
accounting.
some other resources, accounting, and so forth for sure.
Do you do a lot of marketing?
Yes, mainly.
So your main thrust might be, we're going to help your business through marketing and making the public much more aware of your brand.
It's critical today. You have to have marketing and advertising dialed in, as well as your social platform and personal brand. They all play well into exactly what you're trying to accomplish in your business. So I always encourage business owners to have a personal brand as well as their own, business brand, because they can play well together in the sandbox.
I am not familiar that much, or as I should be, with Kevin's body of work,
Mm-hmm.
but I would think that he is one of the branding experts that have
That's
ever
for sure.
been in our generation.
For sure.
So, with his guidance or his tutelage and everything else you bring to the table, it must make for a wonderful team.
Absolutely. When you can take Kevin's experience, 40 some odd years ago when we didn't have all the tools today that we have, and you can blend it with, the knowledge and the know-how with the team that we have now using digital products, social media, marketing, advertising, and all the platforms that are out there to do so. Yeah, it's a wonderful mix. And, you're able to, really give a different perspective. I'm still an old school guy. I was pre internet and, even cell phone for that matter. So relationships are really important for me. I work on relationship selling. That's one of the key areas that I spend a lot of time in, is that I try to help others before, one of my big things in life, Big Bob, is we rise by helping, helping lift up others. And, that's the name of my podcast, is On the Move with Me. And I believe in that. I try to give and edify people and help them get recognized, or, at least I'm a super connector. So I do a lot of introductions and, help people get in the right room. So yeah, I'm a big believer that you have to have a little bit of both. And, those that don't have some of that experience, they should find someone who's been on the front lines without, pre-internet.
Another Big Bob quote: "Service is the gift I give myself to honor my blessings."
Love
So
that.
helping others is my gift to myself. I don't need that much more help for me, but I
Sure.
recognize people around me might need some help based on my experiences. And it's my blessings, it's my gift to me to be able to help.
I love that. And I feel the same way.
That's why I shared it with you.
Thank you.
Um, let's see. What do you do for recreation besides kids?
I ride my bike a lot. I used to be a downhill mountain biker. Now I'm a flat, I'm in Florida. So I do a lot of flat mountain biking. That's a big thing of mine. I feel it's one of the things I did as a kid that keeps me young today. So I continue to do so. Spent some time also, working out, doing the gym, going to the beach. And I read a lot and I pray a lot.
Yeah, I have a lot to pray for. Anyways,
For sure.
yeah, let's see. Do you actively look for opportunities, or are they just floodgating on you? They just find you?
I'll have to say, Big Bob, a lot of them have found me over the years. I do take some active um, pursuit for deals or opportunities that I feel I can bring some value. And so I do a little bit of both now. But mainly, I get a lot of referral, or something lands on my lap through networking, a conversation. And I said earlier that I'm a super connector. So, when you tend to help others, with connections, they come back the same way, a lot of times.
Not that long. Are you familiar with a guy by the name of Brandon T. Adams?
Yes, sir.
All
Know him
right.
well.
You know him well. Wow.
I do.
So, anyways, I sent him two opportunities that are here in Kansas City that I am on the fringe involved with.
Love that.
I was wondering if he shared them with you.
I haven't heard about him yet, but I'm sure I will.
Well, kick him in the ass and ask him why not.
Okay, I will.
I mean, what the hell? If I'm sending you opportunities, I mean, I
Got
need
to hear
someone
about
to
it.
acknowledge, yeah, thanks very much, but no thanks, right?
Absolutely.
All
I'll
right.
make sure I
So,
follow up on that.
yeah. Um, how many gatekeepers are there to make sure um, everything gets a fair look and nothing slips through the cracks?
We have a few. So there's probably 3 gates for people to get through until they can, get to a spot where, we're all paying attention and, having dialogue and having back, room discussions. So there's 3 gates for sure.
So I don't want to say thousands. I really don't. I have some listeners. It's not in the thousands. I don't think it's even up to 100 yet. Brenda, how many? We have 22 listeners.
I love
Anyways,
it.
if one of my 22 people wanted to contact you,
Yes,
would you
sir.
be okay with that?
Yes, sir.
How would they contact you?
Well, they can always find me on social media or right directly at my website, christophercumby.com. And same with all social media at Christopher Cumby, and that's Cumby.
Okay. Now, before we get close to climbing, I'm telling you, you're the type of guy I would love to have a cold beer with
Let's do it.
because what you're doing is very close to what my dream job was about 20 years ago. I wanted to buy a bank building.
Mm,
And in the bank building, I would have somebody who knew everything about manufacturing, somebody who knew everything about banking, somebody who knew everything about advertising. And there'd be 5 or 6 of us in the offices. And every day we'd entertain startup businesses.
love that.
And we would fund the startup businesses.
Even
And
better.
we would be their board of directors until we got the return back and majority owner until we got a set return on our investment. And then we'd hand the business back to them fully developed with a much smaller percentage of ownership.
Wow. That's an
Right.
incredible. Yeah, that's incredible.
20, 25 years ago. And we'd only take on companies that we thought might go public or franchise, home runs only, right?
Sure.
Home runs only, and look for the voids to fill because, you either find a void and fill it or create a void. We
For
wanted to
sure.
find businesses that could create the void and then
I
fill
agree.
it, right?
Hmm.
Instead of being another barber shop, we wanted to come up with something that never been done before,
Right. I
which
love
is the
that.
true definition of entrepreneurship is doing something that hasn't been done before.
For sure.
Um, I am very committed and involved with becoming a better you. It's an organization that Brenda Ringwood has started. I don't know if you're familiar with it yet.
Very familiar. I love Brenda.
You love Brenda. She's happily
I do.
married. And I'm going to tell you, Dennis, her husband, will kick the shit out of you if you make any advances to her.
I would never do that. I'm sure I'll love Dennis as well.
Okay, good. They don't believe in that. Anyways, what are the chances of you coming up to Kansas City for our convention?
100% chance.
Well, in that case, it will give me an opportunity to buy you a cold beer.
I would buy you one back if you do that.
I'm a one beer guy because then I get drunk.
Okay. Well, we'll save. I'll take the one beer then.
Okay, that's my pleasure. Is there anything that you would like to tell all 21 of my subscribers that might not know about you yet?
Well, first of all, you said 22. So did you lose one just now?
I think my comment about Brenda lost us a listener.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry for that. All 21 listeners, listen, I'm a big believer that, you can find your true potential if you believe in yourself. That's the number one spot for anybody to start is really believing in yourself, surrounding yourself with people that believe in you and believe in something that you can go out there and love doing, even when it gets hard.
Right.
That's true grit. And that's really the key, I think, to success is loving what you do, even when it's really, really, really hard. So that's what I'll leave them with.
Absolutely.
Maybe we just gained 5 more listeners.
I tell you what, if you hook this interview up on your podcast, on
Let's
your
do it.
social media, yeah, maybe I find an extra 1 or 2.
Hey,
I mean, I'm not
probably.
that entertaining. I'm not that good looking. I'm too old. I'm fat. I'm crabby. I get it. But why do people do podcasts? I'm doing it for ego. I get to talk to smart people like you. You notice I didn't say
That's
good
funny.
looking. I just said smart people like you, and it gives me a lot of enjoyment.
Well, me too. I love that. And I always was told I got a face for radio. So I got
Yes,
into
you
radio
do.
a few years.
You do. Yeah, you do it. You really. I was thinking
Thank you.
that. I just didn't want to say that out loud.
I said it for you, Big Bob.
You did. Thank you, brother. Very,
Thank
very
you.
much. God bless you in September. September.
Absolutely. God bless you too, my friend.
Be
Thank you
well.
for having me.